And I guess Carl, okay. And thank you all for joining us. We are thrilled to announce today that the Iowa Grocery Industry Association and its participating members will host a campaign during October to raise funds for bullying prevention. October is National Bullying Prevention Month. We deeply appreciate the Iowa Grocery Industry Association's support for efforts by this administration and communities all across the state to help students feel safe and respected in their school. The campaign is being launched in conjunction with our November 4th Governor's Bullying Prevention Summit, which will be held at Hy-Vee Hall in Des Moines. We want to send the message that bullying prevention should be a top priority for all of us. The summit is open to the public, and we hope it will sell out as it did last year. The summit focus this year is how adults and students can make a difference. Generous summit support pledged by sponsors this summer and registration fees should cover most, if not all, of the summit costs, which are estimated to be about $90,000. You can see a complete list of the sponsors on the summit website, preventbullying.iowa.gov. Additional funds raised, including contributions from the Grocers Retail Campaign, will go to a statewide bullying prevention education fund for Iowa schools. Schools will be able to apply to the Iowa Department of Education for competitive grants for bullying prevention education in the 2014-15 school year. Grants will be distributed across the state among rural, urban, and suburban districts. And now I'm pleased to turn the podium over to Lieutenant Governor Reynolds.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And on the easel, you can see an enlarged copy of the dollar coupon pads that soon will be appearing at Iowa grocery stores' checkout counters all across the state. And they're asking Iowans to help us support bullying prevention efforts across Iowa. We are asking Iowans to consider supporting bullying prevention because the need is clear. In 2012, Iowa Youth Survey reported that 57% of students said that in the last 30 days they had been bullied at school or in a variety of ways. And that's up from 50% in 2010. And, while growing awareness may be attributed to some of that, we should not tolerate any increase at all, and especially with the challenges that they continue to face with the internet and social media. We have an opportunity to change that through bullying prevention education, such as awareness training for teachers and students. Many schools and communities have been working for some time to better address the pervasive problem of bullying, and we are certainly grateful for all of their work, and we want to continue to do everything that we can to encourage that. But we also want to encourage the schools that have not been as involved in bullying prevention, and we want to help them explore ways that they can do just that. Iowa's contributions at grocery stores during the month of October can help us make that happen. And again, we certainly want to express our deep appreciation to the Iowa Grocery Industry Association for joining us as a partner by stepping up to help prevent bullying. And so now I'm really pleased to turn the podium over to Michelle Hurd, who is the president of the Iowa Grocery Industry Association. Michelle?
Thank you. First, I would like to start by saying the Iowa Grocery Industry Association is extremely proud to be a part of Governor Branstad's efforts to prevent bullying and help students and communities across the state of Iowa feel safe and respected in schools. We do have a few of the representatives and participating stores here today with Fairway stores, Hy-Vee stores, and Dolls. I would also like to note that we have several independent grocery stores across the state that will also be participating in this fundraising effort. We have Wally's Food Pride that has 4 locations in Northwest Iowa, Keith's Foods in Bloomfield, and Dawn's Food Center in Orange City. And that list continues to grow, so I would continue to watch the website for a complete list of participating stores. When our industry was approached with the opportunity to be involved in this, we immediately knew we could have a positive impact. Our members care deeply about the communities in which they operate and are happy to have the opportunity to help raise funds for such an important cause. Through the month of October, at over 260 stores across Iowa, grocers will ask customers if they would like to donate $1 to help prevent bullying in schools in Iowa. As one of the top employers of today's youth and advocates for our communities that we live and serve, our members are excited at the opportunity to help Iowa educators and students combat bullying. Every child deserves to be safe and respected. As a mother of 2 young children with a 5-year-old and 7-year-old, I have a preschooler and a kindergartner. I'm sure I join many of you in this room and folks across the state of Iowa that either have a grandchild that's a student, maybe a child, a niece, a nephew, or even a neighbor. We all would agree that bullying prevention should be a top priority for all of us. We have all likely experienced bullying at some level, either through a personal experience or through something, a tragedy that you may have read about or heard about. We understand that it's a widespread problem with far-reaching effects, and grocers are proud to be a part of this campaign and eager to help try to put a stop to it.
Michelle, thank you, and I want to thank all of the members of the Grocery Industry Association for stepping up and for conducting this campaign. This is a place where Iowans go often, and that is to the local supermarket or grocery store. So it'll be a great opportunity to get the word out and to get many more people involved in supporting this effort to prevent bullying. With that, we'll open it to your questions.
How much does the campaign help the students do?
I think it depends on the cause. I think grocers are involved in several of these.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I think it depends on the cause. Grocers conduct several of these throughout the year. I think the initial goal was $50,000, but we fully anticipate that we could surpass that goal.
And by the time of the summit, we will know how much it's raised. So we'll announce it at the summit on November 4th, and hopefully we'll have a big check that we can present to the Department of Education for the grants that will go to schools next year. Right.
Are you shifting your focus now to the private sector, or what would that build?
Well, we're doing both. Actually, I think we made great progress in educating people on what they can do to prevent bullying in their schools last year. This is an additional effort to do that. The additional visibility that having the Grocery Industry Association and having over 260 grocery stores across Iowa reach out to their customers, I think is just another great addition. We are also going to continue to work on the legislation. Last year, by time the legislation was perfected and it was introduced, it was relatively late in the session. We're continuing to work on it and improve on the proposal that we had last year, and I'm very hopeful that we will see anti-bullying legislation approved in this session of the legislature on most difficult subjects. And this is a difficult subject because we're dealing with not only the traditional bullying that occurs on the school grounds, in the hallways, or in a bus. It's also things that happen in social media and over the internet today. So these are more complicated and difficult issues, but I'm very hopeful we can see legislative action as well. Other questions on this subject? Okay, we'd be glad to respond to questions on other issues as well.
For your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor, I had a question about the Iowa Juvenile Court. I'm wondering if you support the Attorney General's position that all information about incidents of abuse or mistreatment at the home, where it relates to a specific child, should be kept confidential.
Well, first of all, I think our focus should be on the children and providing the best treatment to the children, making sure they're getting the support, the treatment, and the education that they deserve, rather than protecting the institution or the employees. I do, however, understand that under the federal HIPAA laws and under Iowa's laws dealing with mental health, that certain medical and mental health issues need to be kept confidential. And it's my understanding that is the position that the Attorney General has taken is that they feel under the federal HIPAA laws and the Iowa laws protecting the identity of minors with mental health issues, that this information needs to be kept confidential. I am very concerned about the mistreatment of children at that home. That's why I appointed a task force, which is chaired by Jerry Foxhoven. We've asked them to make a report and recommendations on changes. I think we need to change that entire culture. There's been too much abuse and bad things that have happened at that institution, and we certainly want to prevent that from happening in the future.
Should the task force have access to this information, the non-identifying information?
Well, I know from my previous experience at Des Moines University that when you get to medical information under the federal HIPAA law, you have to be extremely careful. And I learned a lot about that at Des Moines University. And then we also have a state law in terms of mental health and juveniles. These are some of the most troubled children we have in the state. I want to make sure that their rights are protected and their identity, even if you don't release the name, if you describe in detail, remember you only have 38 children at this home, conditions about the individual, it may well make it possible for people to identify the person. So we've got to be very careful in protecting the rights of these children and making sure there's not further abuse or mistreatment that occurs.
Do you know, does the task force have access to that sort of?
No, I don't think they do. Other questions?
You're opening a campaign office this weekend. When are you going to tell us that you're officially running?
Well, we're going to wait until election year. That's 2014. I'm really focused on the job as governor. Both the lieutenant governor and I are going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. We're going to be meeting with Secretary Sebelius and with the White House to try to get finalized our waiver for our Iowa Health and Wellness Plan. Already our insurance commissioner, Nick Wagner, I think Nick Gerhardt
Yeah.
is doing some great things in terms of outreach and making people aware of what they need to do with the complicated exchange and the federal issues involving a 24-page form and all of that sort of stuff. We also have another portion of this that we need to get approval, and we've been working with Health and Human Services. I think we're very close to getting that resolved. So we're going to be doing that on this trip to Washington, D.C. We have a lot of other things to accomplish, but I'm very excited that we have a very good team of people that are committed to putting the groundwork in place in the event we decide to blow the whistle in 2014 and go forward.
Do those waivers need to be approved by October 1st?
I think, no, I think they have to be approved before the end of the year. But we would like to see them, and we're very close, actually. We've worked out a lot of the details. Michael Bugelot will be with us tomorrow, and he and our staff and our people from Health, our Department of Human Services have been working with HHS on this, going back to last February. And so we're very hopeful, we're very optimistic. Actually, we're hearing from a lot of other states that really like what we're doing in Iowa and would like to copy it. So we're thinking that the approach we're taking, which really focuses on getting people to take ownership of their own health and works with people to try to reduce their risk factors, is something that could be a model for the country. Well, Michigan, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, and I think there are others as well. Michael, you went to the governor's meeting out in California, and there were a number of states that expressed interest there as well. Well, there's a few details, and they really involve the requirement that we have that people make a modest premium contribution which they can get refunded if they do health risk assessments. So it's not an onerous requirement at all, but it is part of our whole effort to get people to take ownership of their own health, and it was approved on a bipartisan basis, and it's part of the legislation that was approved by the General Assembly in our Iowa Health and Wellness Plan.
You know, and I say this at every chance I get the opportunity, but this isn't an untested model. The private sector have been doing this for some time now, the wellness component of healthcare cost, and they've seen tremendous results from it. Premiums are going down, employees are healthier, they're catching chronic diseases earlier so we can be proactive. So there's wonderful examples of with businesses all across the state of Iowa, large and small, that are really implementing this ownership, taking ownership of your own health, and they're seeing tremendous results.
And I can tell you from my experience at Des Moines University, we had a similar positive experience with the health risk assessments and getting people to take ownership of their own health. So the other thing is, I mean, just look at example of what Nick Gerhardt has been able to do, it appears those people that are going on the exchange that are above 100% of the poverty rate are going to get a lot better rates here in Iowa than most other states. And I think that's a real tribute to our commitment to health and wellness and the progress that we've made in informing people about what their options are.
Are you concerned at all about the movement to sort of voluntarily targeted going up in Congress right now and how that might affect?
No, I don't spend my time worrying about the way they fight in Washington, D.C. I'm the governor of Iowa. My focus is making this state a model and a leader in what we can accomplish. And I recognize you have people in Washington, D.C. The president wants to blame the Republicans. The Republicans want to blame the president. We're not in the blame game. We're interested in trying to make things work as best we can under the circumstances here in this great state.
Do you agree with Doug Rose who said over the weekend that TNT does not represent the Republican Party and on based on primary count?
I'm not going to get into the politics on something like that. I think that Steve King is a strong and effective congressman for his constituents, and I'm not going to comment further.
While you were jetting off to Japan,
The trade mission to Japan and to India, yeah.
for Department of Natural Resources,
Right.
in which they've agreed to in-person inspection permanently livestock facilities, set a timeline and be more aggressive and amount like that.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody involved in this. This was a great example of collaboration and working together. The EPA, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, and the farmers and the farm organizations, and they worked together to come up with something that was reasonable and that was workable. And I think that's a good example of the way we do things in Iowa. Instead of fighting each other and spending all our time calling each other names and filing lawsuits, we try to work things out in a collaborative way to protect the environment and to make it possible for farmers to be able to do their business and raise livestock in our state.
But they've agreed to inspect 8,000 within 5 years.
I think, well, first of all, I don't know the details of this, but I know that the Department of Natural Resources feels that they, with the additional staff that we provided them, that they have the wherewithal to be able to meet what they've agreed to do as part of these inspections. And I have a lot of confidence in Chuck Gipp and his staff, and I know they've worked hard. I know they've worked closely with the people from EPA. I mean, we invited the new administrator of the EPA to come to the Iowa State Fair. Nobody thought that was going to happen, and it did. And she had great things to say about Iowa farmers, and she got to learn a lot more about the way agriculture is conducted in this state. And her staff also witnessed, I think, 63 farm families that got environmental stewardship awards presented by the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, the Governor's Office, and the DNR.
Thanks, Governor. Thanks, everyone.